John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
Next shot, bang.
Favorite episodes that we do are these pay-per-view recaps. So goddamn good to be with you on a Monday. It's March 10th. The year is 2025. Sorry if that blew out your eardrums, Ken Flo. It's episode 541 of the Anik Florian podcast. Anik Florian podcast is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Kenny, let us not sort of bury the lead. Did your ESPN Plus application work for the pay-per-view over the weekend?
It did, thankfully. It was kind of a headache getting going. It's like I gotta confirm all these things and go to the phone and then see what like service I have and confirm the service, and then finally, I don't know. It was a huge mix-up, but after a little while, I was able to watch. Thank goodness.
So I'm not entirely aware of what's going on in the moment. I did get a text from Anik Florian podcast friend of the program. Big Ron Pellegrino, who I think was about to assault a man because his pay-per-view was not working. Here's the tweet that I got from Andrew D521. Being the champions get paid on pay-per-view buys, what do you think will come of the ESPN Plus pay-per-view purchasing issues for Pereira? Will he need to sue? Have they strayed away from this model, or has something else happened in the past that lays precedent for how this is handled? So clearly, play-by-play announcer number one did not have any idea the magnitude of what went on. So to those who missed the pay-per-view, let me apologize on behalf of ESPN Plus. Not that does anything. If I could send you all a coffee cake, I would. But that's really unfortunate. It really is, because so much goes into this, you know, and I don't know what can be done about that. Hopefully those people would get UFC 314 for free. But that is really unfortunate to hear, and it's crazy that for Ken Flo, it actually worked this time. How about that? All right, a lot to get to today. We're going to recap the piss out of this UFC 313 Pereira versus Ankalaev. Also, some predictions later on for UFC Fight Night: Vettori versus Dolidze II, and Ray Longo's favorite fighter found out he will be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame this summer. That is Ruthless Robbie Lawler. So we'll get into that with Ray now. When I was writing a lead, Kenny, to this Robbie Lawler Hall of Fame feature that I was going to deliver to the arena and to the masses at home, all I could think about was this clip that our producer, Zach Candido, actually sent me at about midnight after the pay-per-view. Was when I don't know who he was doing the interview with, but Tyron Woodley was the other fighter. And you know where I'm going. I mean, we played this MMA Live. We played this soundbite on ESPN MMA Live in whatever year. Robbie Lawler was talking about a potential fight with Conor McGregor, and Lawler was sort of suggestive that would not be good for Conor. And I guess the journalist asked, take his O or take whatever the fuck he would be taking. And Robbie said that he wouldn't take that. And the journalist followed up and said, what would you be taking? And Lawler, in the greatest utterance in MMA television of all time, deadpanned, paused, and said, the way only Robbie can, his soul. We'll try to actually track that for you before the end of the program, Kenny, but his soul, greatest utterance in MMA TV history.
It was amazing because it was just authentic. It was very Robbie Lawler, and he was dead serious about it. There's certain people, John, that I remember watching a 19-year-old Robbie Lawler in the UFC knock out grown-ass men one after another. And I was like, I do jujitsu. I'm not sure this fighting thing is cut out for guys like me. Like, when you see someone like that, who, I had to design myself and build myself up to be able to fight in the UFC. Robbie Lawler was kind of made for that. I kind of hate saying that, but if there was one guy who was made for the UFC's octagon, it was Robbie Lawler. And the fact that he was able to do it back then, before I was even thinking about fighting, to after I retired, that level of longevity, John, to fight at that elite level for that long and accumulate that, those many championships is just unheard of. That guy, he's a one of one. And to see Robbie Lawler get that shine and to have you deliver what you said was just awesome, man. Well, what a guy, what a fighter.
One of his contemporaries said he was a fighter who became a mixed martial artist. And I think Chael Sonnen said that if he had to sort of put a fighter's face next to the word fighter in the dictionary, it would be Robbie Lawler. And I do think just off of an epic win for Justin Gaethje, whom we will get to in a little bit, your favorite fighter's favorite fighter really is Robbie Lawler, right? Like when I think about it, the genesis of that phraseology, and I didn't trademark it, but I do believe I used it first on air describing Justin Gaethje, right? But it's when you talk to other fighters, Robbie Lawler, Kenny, to me is the guy. Like, wait till you hear Ray, right? Like, if we don't interrupt Ray, he will go for 3 minutes on Robbie Lawler when he comes on to without stopping.
Right. And it's hard to, quantify in 2025, like what is the greatest fight of all time. But when you have stakes and blood and violence and nonstop action, I mean, the Rory McDonald and Robbie Lawler title fight comes to mind. And it's a reminder of what is at stake if you go to that dark place with someone named Robbie Lawler or a guy like a Robbie Lawler. Because in my opinion, John, and I love Rory, he's a dear friend of mine, I don't think he was the same after that fight. I mean, Robbie Lawler is violence personified. And he lives for that kind of stuff. And again, that's one of the fights that I think will go on to define him.
So the Rory McDonald fight went into the Hall of Fame, and then Robbie Lawler gets his number called now for another wing of the UFC Hall of Fame. What an incredible career. And yes, we do have the video because he sort of led up to this himself. If I fought him, not taking his neck here.
I heard him. Because if I heard him, I wasn't taking his neck.
What were you going to take?
His soul.
That was, you crushed him? You never.
Just chewing gum like it's a normal statement. And again, that's just as real as it gets right there.
His soul. Absolutely incredible. Congratulations to Robbie Lawler. We will continue to unveil the Hall of Fame class as the pay-per-views continue. All right, let us dive into UFC 313, shall we? Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. And whether they sponsored the show or not, it's my tequila of choice right now. I go to the bar, I ask for Cuervo. I'm actually on a gin kick right now, folks, though.
Oh, yeah?
I'm on a gin kick. Bruce Buffer tells me that people used to drink gin in the olden days because it didn't smell on your breath and you could get it past the authorities or past anybody else you were trying to get it past, I got other people, longtime bartender Big Ron Pellegrino, tell me how bad gin is for my system compared to other alcohols. I think it's all poison, Ron. I mean, he says gin is poison. Is vodka not poison? Is whiskey poison or no?
Oh, man.
Every time Bruce Buffer orders a gin and tonic with Bombay Sapphire, he says, what does he say? Light on the ice, not on the bomb. Every time. Light on the ice, not on the bomb. I'm a Hendrix guy myself. All right. Magomed Ankalaev is the undisputed UFC light heavyweight champion. In his moment, he got it done on this fateful night. He had to be better. I thought he was. Unanimous decision for the Russian champion, fourth Russian champion in UFC history. Unanimous decision, 48-47 times 2, dissenting judge, 49-46. Ken Flo, your thoughts?
This was the biggest threat to the title of Poatan Pereira. And, I think that the way that he fought, the threat of the takedown, the forward pressure, the speed that he showed out there really was the difference. I'm not sure Alex Pereira was at his best on Saturday night, but it doesn't matter. It's not who is the better fighter. It's who's the better fighter that night. And Ankalaev fought one hell of a fight. It was not looking good, similar to the Blachowicz fight when he was taking all that damage to his lead leg, but it just shows just how damn tough he is and how that fight against Blachowicz probably made him stronger and better and more experienced because of it. But I'll let you jump in here.
so many angles of this fight, but Ankalaev really was the pressuring fighter, and he had Alex Pereira backing up and not of his usual self. Now, it is hard to quantify the toll that being the biggest superstar in MMA could take on an athlete. I mean, you can be sure for Magomed Ankalaev, as cotton-mouthed as it gets in our fighter meeting during Ramadan, this was not an ideal circumstance, right? But Alex Pereira has asked a lot of himself, and a lot has been asked of this man. Not for nothing, this was the first time that he was unable to attend our fighter meeting because he had been double booked or whatever it was. And yeah, I just do believe that, sometimes it can just sort of all not be there. And even sort of some people were suggesting when he was doing his usual walkout, he didn't look as intense or even as in sync. So I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here, but largely I thought Ankalaev fought an outstanding fight and was definitely the winner.
When I went back and watched the fight, I think it does come down to round 3 for me.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the judges said about that fight, I think it came down to round 3, and I thought it was very close when it came to the striking activity and who was landing the better shots. I think that it was Ankalaev that got off to a better start with those kicks to the lead leg of Poatan Pereira. Kind of was heating up later on in that round, landing some good shots, landed a great slip and rip at one point that I thought was the best shot of the round. But when I'm looking at, when it is that close and there's no takedowns involved or anything like that, and not a whole lot of damage to speak of, I'm going to look at most likely the guy that's moving forward, and the guy that's moving forward was Ankalaev. And we also have to talk about the fact that just the threat of the takedown, I think, had an impact in this fight, because those are the kind of things that could really quiet your offense a lot as a striker and as a guy who maybe didn't want to be on his back against someone like Ankalaev. So I would have liked to see more volume thrown from Pereira, but I think it really was that threat of the takedown and the forward pressure of Ankalaev that kind of did him in there.
Sal D'Amato gave Magomed Ankalaev the final 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So I did not think that Ankalaev won the 5th round. I thought it was a pretty clear Pereira round, but Ankalaev did still, and again, control is a word you got to be careful throwing out there, but he controlled the second half of the round. There was some clinch, but certainly not enough to make it an effective grappling round as opposed to maybe an effective striking round. Cody chiming in, Cody earlier just saying, we were going to change his nickname from maybe, Code Blue to Code Red. And he's like, Code Red was me watching an Ankalaev fight. Cody, not incidentally a fan. But in terms of an immediate rematch, there's the likelihood of it. But in terms of what would happen, Kenny, what do you think? I mean, certainly it stands to reason, right, that Alex Pereira could just feel better on fight night and Magomed Ankalaev could not be during Ramadan, and it could be an entirely different fight. I think Dana was maybe expectant that there would be more action. How would you handicap a rematch?
Gosh, I think that both guys could make some improvements in that fight. So it's hard to tell. I think that for Pereira in the rematch, he would certainly need to get that jab going. That was probably the most surprising thing about that fight, was him not utilizing that jab more often. I don't know where it went, but that's a huge component to getting off on the rest of his offense and establishing that range, and why he didn't throw that, I have no idea. And for Ankalaev, I think he could have been way more effective with his takedowns, with his entries, and of course could have shut down those lead leg kicks early. So which way it would go, I don't know, John. That is a tricky one. Those are the changes they need to make. And I'll let you jump in, but I would love at some point to talk about, the activity of Pereira throughout the year. Fighting 4 times, in a short amount of time. It's a lot to ask of, but go ahead, John.
Well, no, that is an interesting angle, and we might as well stay on it for a second, because Brett Okamoto brought it up on the post-fight show and almost led with it in a lot of respects, right? It is hard to quantify these things: the media grind, the fan grind, the sponsor grind, the chasing every dollar grind, So Alexander Volkanovski is an interesting case, right? Because he's not getting the second fight against Ilia Topuria, right? But in theory, right, you will get a prime Volkanovski the way you got a prime Justin Gaethje this weekend. And if this fight doesn't happen until October, a rematch between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev, it sounds like you think that would be what the doctor ordered for Pereira. Just hang out in Danbury, Connecticut, enjoy the summer, fucking train. Hey, I mean, he stuffed 12 of 12 takedowns. I mean, that's the thing. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt held up, Kenny. And I know we talk about levels of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, right? But Plinio Cruz and Glover Teixeira don't just hand them out. Right now, I understand that maybe he hasn't put in the time. He certainly has trained in the gi. I'm not suggestive that this is, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on the level of many, many others in the UFC, right? But at least in terms of some of the anti-grappling and the takedown defense, there was plenty of good in here for Pereira.
No, for sure. And, Ankalaev isn't, a focused wrestler like, let's say, Khabib Nurmagomedov was either, but coming from the area that he comes from in Dagestan, Russia, I mean, he definitely has a plethora of wrestling training partners and knowledge to call from, and he has shown his effectiveness as a wrestler before. I mean, look what he did to Jan Blachowicz on just one leg, by the way. So I thought that Alex Pereira's counter wrestling, his defensive wrestling, I thought was pretty on point for this fight. I think perhaps maybe his confidence wasn't there as much as he would like, but as far as his defensive capability was there. And, in regards to his activity as a fighter, I think that it's a lot to ask of any guy, especially a champion. And this is where the UFC kind of has to think about this as well, is do you go with the short-term money and putting on these championship fights, or do you allow your star fighters to kind of get the respite that they need? And I think we look at Pereira as this guy who is kind of half man, half machine. And we think, well, he's not really human. He can do anything. And the reality is that he is human. And we've seen so many fighters, champions or otherwise, not be able to compete at a high level consistently when you're fighting around that time frame of 4 fights in 12 months. You just can't keep it up. I don't care who you are, especially when you're preparing for 5-round wars. It's a lot. We train more than any other athlete in the world. I don't care who you are, what you are. MMA is the most difficult sport in the world, period.
I just wonder what decision you might have made. Would you have maybe made the decision like a George St. Pierre, or the decision that Alex Pereira, Alexander Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya have made, right? And a lot of that is inexorably tied to money. Right? And Pereira, I think, will be 38 in September, right? And I think he's young, relatively speaking, in terms of the MMA miles, a lot of combat sports miles, but that's a part of it too. It's like, hey man, I know you headline UFC 300, but we need you at 303. And yeah, you're going to get a new contract. And yeah, you just got one of those. And yeah, there's just a lot that goes into it, but it's a tricky thing. And I do think that sometimes when you suffer a loss like this, even in a close fight, relatively speaking, maybe another champion controls the calendar now and it ends up being October in Abu Dhabi. And it seems like that's when Ankalaev would like to fight. And I think that would make a lot of sense for both sides. Now, what is your appetite for an immediate rematch? I mean, I think it's almost the only thing that makes sense. I know we have a Carlos Ulberg, Jan Blachowicz fight, but now having had some time to sort of digest this results, I think the only possibility is an immediate rematch as soon as both sides are ready.
100% agree with you. I think it's the best fight you can make in that division. I think that first fight speaks for itself. I think that there's some adjustments that they can make. Those are the 2 biggest names in the division. Those are the 2 best fighters in the division. And candidly, I don't care about the rest of the division as far as names and fights. I think that's the fight to make, and the UFC kind of has to go right back in and do that rematch ASAP.
So you have Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree Jr. fight. I think that is on the calendar and might even be a main event, if I'm not mistaken. Cody's writing in the chat, sounding really like a mixed martial arts fanatic, Cody, right? Rematch in July, trilogy in December. No. So Magomed Ankalaev, if I was him, I would disappear to Russia until October. Right. Goodbye. Take your gold and let us settle on Magomed Ankalaev for a while, right? Because I understand that, some people maybe don't like him as a stylist, but this guy is a mixed martial arts lifer, Kenny. Depth of amateur MMA experience, so much UFC experience. He hasn't lost essentially since 15 seconds against Paul Craig in his UFC debut right in 2018.
Yeah.
7 years perfect. Finally gets the Poatan fight during Ramadan and fights a really, really good fight. And anyone who heard me on pay-per-view or watched the post-fight show is now going to hear this for a third time. But the best part of this job is seeing a guy go from non-champion to champion and change his life forever. And the number one contender is now the champ. And, all hail Sukrab Magomedov, his coach, and everybody that is aligned with Team Ankalaev.
It's similar to a Merab Dvalishvili. He just did it in the right way. And it's hard when you have a style that maybe isn't the most exciting, right? He's not this one-punch knockout artist, but he is a tremendous mixed martial arts fighter. And he wouldn't have gotten the win over Alex Pereira if he wasn't that. He is good everywhere. He's a true mixed martial artist who's been working hard, who had a long road just to get there. And to execute the way that he did against a guy at 205 pounds who very few people had a recipe or even knew how to beat. Ankalaev was that dude. And again, I told you guys on the last podcast how I had that funny feeling in my stomach about him against Pereira. I mean, he really was the guy that I thought that was the biggest threat, and he showed why he was.
Yeah. Round 3, I think significant strikes. It was Alex Pereira, 21, Magomed Ankalaev, 17. But if you are looking to sort of see what was the closest round of that fight, it wasn't necessarily the round in which the fight swung, right? I do find that round 5 scorecard from good man Sal D'Amato to be particularly wayward, right? About 1 minute and 22 seconds of control time for Magomed Ankalaev in that 5th round, but 0 for 4 on the takedowns. And I don't know, I felt like 1 and 5 were pretty clearly Poetans, but the result is the result. The undisputed UFC light heavyweight champion is indeed Magomed Ankalaev. All right, plenty more coming up on UFC 313, but you ever lift a little too hard or just forget to apply your daily deodorant and get hit by a truck by a load of BO from all directions, Ken Flo? No! Does that 3-in-1 shampoo leave you needing a second shower just a few hours after the first? Well, you don't always get the chance to endorse products as great as this, but I'm telling you guys, MANDO is the goods. MANDO whole body deodorant, helping men conquer their odor in a new way. Formulated with mandelic acid, MANDO has long-lasting 72-hour odor control that actually stops odor before it starts. Best part, you can put MANDO everywhere. Pits, packages, feet, skin folds, back, knees, everywhere. Anyone who knows me well knows I'm a sweater. MANDO has these body deodorant wipes. I have them in my car. I keep them with me everywhere. I use them regularly. They've been a real game changer for me. Also, MANDO's cologne is high quality. Clearly, these scents were created with men in mind. Bestseller is Bourbon Leather. It's the bestseller for a reason, Ken Flo. Right now, we got a special offer. New customers, $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code AFPOD and link. Use code AFPOD at shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO.com. MANDO was created by a doctor, clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap. America's #1 whole body deodorant. Now, you can find MANDO at Walmart and at Target, but for the best deals, shopmando.com with code AFPOD. MANDO starter pack, perfect for new customers, comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash or those deodorant wipes I mentioned, and free shipping as well. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code AFPOD at shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with MANDO. All right. Justin Gaethje got as high as, I think, plus 138 against Rafael Fiziev. Gosh, I felt good about Gaethje's chances coming in here. You know, Rafael Fiziev, I think, was dealing with a lot of different things, and I haven't heard him talk on the other side as to how he really felt in fight. But I don't know how many lightweights we're going to beat Justin Gaethje on this night, Kenny. I really don't. You know, I mean, Islam Makhachev obviously is otherworldly, and every time I get the chance to talk about him, I describe him as such. But what a huge win in a career full of them for Justin the highlight Gaethje, huh?
100%. I think that when you look at guys like, what superhero would you be? When I think about Gaethje, he would be Wolverine, because you can't kill the fucking guy. Okay. This guy, he finds a way to rebuild himself and come back stronger. And I agree with you as far as, you know, his chin showing that durability, that classic Justin Gaethje chin. It was there. It was there. He fought right in the face of Fiziev. I thought that he lost round 1 and came back beautifully in round 2 and round 3 and just continued to get stronger and stronger, made the right adjustments. The strike that really changed the fight completely, which I think got Fiziev really out of there before the fight was over, was that uppercut.
Oh, yeah.
That dirty boxing,
Yeah.
grabbing behind the head and landing that uppercut was just a thing of beauty. Really hurt Fiziev there. And from there, I was like, this fight's over. Gaethje has this, and just looked awesome, man. And to see a guy like that, I had my doubts, John. I wasn't so confident. When I see a guy get knocked out cold after the kind of career that Justin Gaethje has had, I really was I was a little negative on this one, but man, did he look awesome. And Gaethje is just such a great guy, and he's so great for this sport. And to see him go out there and win in that fashion against a really dangerous guy in Fiziev was awesome.
Yeah, the minute I shared air with Justin Gaethje, I just had a funny feeling he was coming through. All right, a lot to get to on UFC 313. Plenty more on Justin Gaethje. Let's go 3 wide and welcome in the star of the program. It's the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Look at him. Look at the motherfucker. That's what I'm talking.
Always grateful. We never take this for granted, having 25 or so minutes of Ray Longo's time every week. Sorry for keeping you on hold there for a minute. I didn't see that. How you doing, my man?
Oh, very good. How you guys doing?
Good.
We're doing great. We want to get back to Justin Gaethje in a minute, but your favorite fighter was inducted into the Hall of Fame, or at least it was announced that your favorite fighter is going to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame this summer. Of course, I'm talking about Ruthless Robbie Lawler.
Man, what could you say? Really, what a good feeling. Robbie, as you know, is one of the nicest guys you'll meet. And, my memory really of Robbie is when we did, me and Matt, it was Matt took me along with him to do season 6. And, Sarah hated Hughes hated Sarah, but, we were all in the same complex, and me and Robbie would hang out in the pool and talk every day. Even under crazy circumstances, there was never a problem. I loved talking to him. He was just a dedicated martial artist back then. We're talking, 2007? And to really watch his career in Strikeforce, and I think he fought in Japan, and just from the UFC to there. And then when he comes back to the UFC, goes on a run and a tear from hell when most guys you would think would have been done after the career they had. And that's the amazing part to me. Always fought with heart, always was an exciting fighter. And like, again, to me, the most important part, just an approachable guy, really good guy. I'm glad Steve Lee took a picture of us at the last fight we were at, probably was in France. It looks like, he's getting into the coaching. He understands now what coaches go through, you know what I mean? So just always good to see the guy. And he's always just so pleasurable. And he was an absolute monster. And just what he did, for the UFC and just for the fans, gave him, all those great fights. And I don't know, never talked shit about anybody, just always did the right thing. And I just wish that guy the best. And he's just, it's always just nice seeing him. He's just a good guy from day one. That's why I bring up the thing about being in the pool, because, we could not even talk to each other, because Sarah and Hughes were creating that environment. But just a good guy. I don't know what else to say. And a great fighder. And man,
Ray, what's the fight? What's the fight that when you think about Robbie Lawler, what's the fight that stands out to you?
Well, look, you could take a million. You could take the Manhoff fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you could go back to Strikeforce, the Rory McDonald fight. I think you could take any fight of his and blow it up. You know what I mean?
Condit. I mean, go to UFC Fight Pass and do yourself
a
favor. Do a little Robbie Lawler collective.
Without a doubt. But even Manhoff, who was a great kickboxer, right? You would think, holy crow, this guy's going to get out. He ends up knocking out Manhoff, right? I think he did knock him out, right?
Yes. Yep.
And
his leg
then you go to Rory McDonald, just the way they were warring, his antics in the ring, just to bring it on and let's go. And it was the McDonald fight was after one of those rounds that he had like an epic saying. I forget which fight that was, but always just an entertaining dude, man.
Yeah,
and he brought it, and he brought it at a time like, again, his resurgence into the UFC is what's fascinating to me because he already had a lot of fights at that point, up and down and all over the place. And
Yeah.
just happy that he was able to come to the UFC, get in front of as many people as he got to fight in front of. And nobody will forget that guy. He's an OG and a new G.
Yeah, it's rare that you see a guy like that who fought with so many fights when he came back to the UFC reinvent themselves to look like a completely different fighter and then go on to win the welterweight championship.
Crazy. That's crazy. That's the part that impresses me is that resurgence, because when he started fighting at 19, look at what a juggernaut he was.
Unbelievable.
And again, that to me is the definition of a fighter, a real fighter. He's a juggernaut in the octagon, but when he's out of the octagon, he's just a cool dude, man. He's not walking around like a high-strung idiot, looking to kill somebody. But when that door closes, man, you get a look at a guy that wants to do some damage, and hats off to him, well deserved. And again, just keep being you, man. He's just a good dude.
Yeah. Congratulations to Robert Glenn
Yes.
Lawler. Man, game of inches, though, that Carlos Condit fight. Am I right? Anyway. All right. So a lot that we would like to get into with you on UFC 313 if we could, and we appreciate you coming on a little bit later today. Alex Pereira is no longer the undisputed UFC light heavyweight champion. What'd you make of the main event, Raymond?
Oof. I thought it was going Pereira's way. It looked like he was doing his normal thing. He was breaking him down with that leg kick, you know what I mean? Slowly, like trying to zap some energy out of him. And then I thought he was going to start picking it up, and he just, was never able to pull the trigger, man. He just couldn't. You saw him slip punches, but not come back with anything. You know what I mean? Like he just, for whatever the reason is, and I was talking about in the gym the other day, yesterday, and I think 3 title defenses in 7 months is just too much, man. I think they did it to Israel Adesanya. I think you saw it when what did he do? He got knocked out by Pereira, then he came back and he won, then he fought Strickland. You just can't do that. And these guys are getting older.
But when you say they did it, and the promoter, his coaches, right? Because Alexandre Pantoja, I think, might have had an opportunity to fight recently in Perth. And Pahumpa essentially was like, go ahead, delete my number, right? There are some coaches who will. So when you say they have him do it, right, there's a lot of things at play, right? The dollars keep getting bigger. They need pay-per-view headlines. So, right, there's a lot of people, right?
The
coach, the promoter,
result
in these guys doing this. And ultimately, it isn't sustainable.
Yeah, right. No, whoever it is. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think when they get a money maker, they're going to try to just bleed that out. And then it's the responsibility, like you say, of everybody around him to say no. But look, money talks and bullshit walks. And I'm sure he's financially set. Look, he didn't get hurt in the fight. He took a couple of shots. But
well, let me ask you that for a second, because that's part of what I want to get to. So if Leon Edwards was hurt significantly by Bilal Muhammad in round 1, certainly not going to say after the fight, yeah, man, got me good in round 1 and it kind of compromised me the rest of the fight. Now, at the end of round 2, how do you quantify what affected Pereira over the final 15 minutes? Because he almost did get knocked out if there were 20 more seconds in round 2. No?
Yeah, he was.
We don't know. We don't know. I don't know. I'm a fan. You guys are experts.
Look, Izzy. Look, he no-sells getting hurt pretty good, I think. He's got that stoic look. He's not breaking character. But, Izzy would have knocked him out in the first round. I think he was saved by the bell, and he came back to win that fight. You know what I mean? So I believe that was it, right? Wasn't it the first Izzy fight? He caught him at the end of the fight. Yeah. And I think he was wobbled way worse than that. But, maybe he was 2 or 3 years younger. Maybe, that plays into it too. I don't know. But, he definitely shows the resilience to come back after he gets buckled a little bit. And I think there's a finite amount of times you can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's against a guy who probably on Fight Night weighs around 230 pounds, not, 205 pounds. That makes a difference.
Yeah. And Kenny, but looking at that fight, first off, very close fight. I thought it was a close fight. Very close fight. I think people are skimming by that. That fight definitely is 2-2. You could toss
it. Comes down to round 3 for me, and that's debatable.
That's debatable. So he could have easily won that fight. Although I think the other guy appeared optic-wise did more damage, but those calf kicks ain't no joke. I bet you he's not walking too good today. You know what I mean? So the frustrating part to me was, but looking at the fight, it was a very winnable fight for him. It looked like it was almost could have been a tailor-made fight for him. That's why I go to something else. Was he burnt out? Is he overtrained? Is he traveling too much? He's not trained. Who the hell knows? You know,
Yeah.
these guys hit that point, John, when the money's coming in and they're traveling, that it's not going to last for long. You got to remember what got you to the dance, and you got to stick with it. Go back to Marvin Hagler, 14 title defenses. They said the best thing about him was it was the same workout every time, every title defense.
Right.
And that's, like he says, it ain't easy getting
Right.
up at 6 a.m.
Right.
and running in the 30-degree weather when you're wearing silk pajamas. And it's true. You know,
and Pineda can flow. They're not so attached to a singular result, and I think that's the way you need to be in mixed martial arts, right? So,
absolutely. I mean, I I was very hard on myself, but seeing Pereira, did a video on Instagram that I saw, and he seemed like he was in good spirits. I think it's those kind of guys that remain stoic throughout the wins and the losses that are going to come back well from this. Guys like Justin Gaethje, for example, of course, that found a way to come back in beautiful fashion. But I think Pereira will be back. And again, looking at that fight, there's little things he can do. There's not one huge mistake where it's like he was getting taken down every round and was just dominating on the ground. It was a super close fight. There's a ton of positives you can take from that fight. And I think Pereira will be back and be back better.
And takedown defense is one of them. I thought he held up great,
Definitely.
And even at the end of that fourth round, when he tripped him down, he just flung him down easily, which was
that Muay Thai trip was sweet.
Oh yeah,
that's sweet.
Grabbed his neck, whatever.
A couple of times he hit it,
and I'll tell you that was super impressive. And man, he went flying.
That was awesome.
I'd like to see a rematch, even though it wasn't the most entertaining fight. I think they got to give Pereira some rest. I look, that's what I'm seeing. You can't burn these guys out. There's certain guys you can. There's certain guys
but even to a point, to a point, and after a while, I don't think you.
It just
at an elite level, at an elite level, you can't.
I think you need that Marab energy where you're just going 24/7, whether you're fighting or you're not fighting.
Yeah. So Justin Gaethje is getting hit to the body, right? As we roll in some images here, and he is like, "Come on." Right? Like, oh, come on, man. Like, I once capped, I think, one of his fights just in the moment. Like, have you ever seen anything like Justin Gaethje? And fucking no. Like, I've never seen anything like this guy, Ray.
Listen, this guy is a savage. He's a savage to other savages. I don't know. Look,
that is a great line. He is like an endangerment to other endanger.
He's the alpha male savage to other savages. But look, I thought it was the worst thing he could have did, that rematch. I didn't see any upside to it at all. And I thought Fiziev was going to win that fight. I just thought, based on this guy being able to block out what happened, he's the definition of a fighter. He just went back in there like he's never been knocked out in his life. It's a rare quality, but this son of a bitch has it, man. He is really tough. And that is, I didn't see what the upside was, but the upside is that his legend just, multiplied by 100.
It's amazing. It really is to come back from UFC 300 with that, right? Like, he's going to go into the Hall of Fame twice, Ray, just like Lawler.
Well, that's what was so perfect. He was like a Robbie Lawler 2.0 in a lot of ways. I mean, it's amazing.
It really is. I'm amazed. I was amazed by that fight. Fiziev is very super talented, and the first fight was really close. I figured the 2 years would have helped Fiziev more than, or however long it was, would have helped him more than it would have helped Gaethje, especially coming after you get spin back kick to the face, you get knocked out. No, dude, he took a beating in that fight.
Yeah.
And God bless him. Whatever he's got, people should talk to him. Whatever his mentality is, that's the guy you want to talk to, because imagine telling that guy he's coaching you and you don't want to do something.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. So Longo's got a hard out, I think, at 12:24 p.m. Eastern today. So we're going to try to sort of maximize this time. Have you seen the clip of Robbie Lawler talking about taking Conor McGregor's soul, Ray?
I don't think I probably have, but I don't remember.
All right, we're gonna play that for you.
Yeah.
Watch and enjoy.
Because if I hurt him, I wasn't taking his neck,
What were you going to take?
his soul.
That was you crushed him. You never.
No, Ray. I mean,
listen, and it's coming from that guy, which I'm telling you, that's what I love about him. I think that clip is what I love about him.
that's amazing. All right. Justin Gaethje wins this fight. Incredible, incredible win. It is crazy to think that his legacy could grow, not exponentially, but as much as I think this win will do for him. I think he should fight Islam Makhachev. And I say that with respect to Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria. Kenny, I'll start with you on this. I feel like Justin Gaethje is a fresh matchup for Islam Makhachev. He's a tried and true lightweight, right? Two of Islam Makhachev's defenses have already come against a featherweight. Certainly, if Islam Makhachev had any fucking say, it would be Justin Gaethje. I don't know what the pay-per-view meter would say about Topuria, Oliveira, and Gaethje, who would be the biggest number, Kenny. But what would you do at 55 if this was the Florian Fighting Championships?
Right. So I would say I would give Topuria that shot just based on what he's done at 145, him coming up to 155. It's rare that we kind of get those super fight type deals. He's been more consistent than Gaethje, but I think you have Gaethje fight the winner of that, right? Have Gaethje fight the winner of that, and then maybe whatever happens after that, we'll see. But I think that's probably the way to approach it. Have Gaethje take some time off, get him to relax and give him some good timing on a championship fight at 155.
I 100% agree with everything you said. I got nothing to add to that. I'd give same thing. Topuria. I love those super fights.
Like imagine Topuria and Gaethje.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Unless they want to do that fight first.
Right. That'd be unreal.
Because who wouldn't want to see that fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Dominic Cruz actually suggested on the post-fight show. So it seems as though Dustin Poirier is going to fight Max Holloway in his retirement fight. It seems as though the stars are aligning for that.
Wow.
Rumored, reportedly, I don't know. Ilia Topuria, I think, would have the inside track for a fight against Islam Makhachev. Arman Tsarukyan needs a win of some kind, and maybe he fights Rafael Fiziev, but the calendar plays into this as well, so we'll see. But in terms of Gaethje's ability to come back from a knockout loss like this, Ray, so Daniel Cormier was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and Bernard Hopkins said something about coming back from a knockout loss like that. It can take some guys 3, 4, 5 years. Some guys never recover. And a lot of us MMA heads, somebody as credentialed to talk about as Daniel Cormier and somebody less credentialed like me just feel like Justin Gaethje is a different breed. And I wanted to ask you guys, I don't know if he has some tell in training that the chin has recovered, but I feel like Gaethje was able to recover, and he took the requisite time, and he proved that he's either of a different breed or he did the right things to get himself prepared to take a shot again. Wow.
Yeah. Who's going?
You.
Go ahead, Ray. You go.
Oh, look, the guy. It's almost like Hopkins. I agree with Bernard Hopkins. It's an individual thing, and some guys will never get over that, and some guys it takes a little time to get over it. But I will say this: it's a rare quality to get over it and come back and fight a fight like that against a really skilled guy. So, like again, I'd love to get a picture into the inside of his brain to see what's going on, but whatever he's doing, whatever he's manifesting in his head, whatever it is, he's able to do all the things that I think a sports psychologist would tell you have to do. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but he did it and he proves it. And, he could talk the talk and walk the walk, that guy. He's special.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes down to the people that are closest to him. It's his close training partners, and of course guys like Trevor Whitman that are coming out saying, hey, listen, I love this fight for him against Fiziev. This is the best I've seen him in a long time. And even when Justin came out, I said, he looks like he's in great shape. Like that was the best shape that I've seen him in a long time. He looked fresh. Even when he's hitting the pads, he had that pop. where perhaps he didn't have that against Holloway. And it's little things. There's a lot of things that can go right and wrong during a camp, or injuries leading up to it, or a bad training camp, where everything kind of compounds. So, that's the guys that you kind of have to rely on to give you the truth and let you know, hey, you should take this fight, or you know what, let's take some more time before I see that you are the Justin Gaethje that I've seen before. And clearly it was the right choice by his team. And, it was good to see a guy like Justin come back like that.
And I'll tell you, his style is not a sustainable style.
No. He has said that.
I mean, this is going back 10 years ago. It's just not a sustainable, and nothing can stop this guy. I think the best part is, he's gone to war. He took some vicious body shots in that fight, and he took some other, decent shots. And what's the first thing he says? We got to train together. You want more of that in training?
My God.
That's a guy you got to love, man.
Kenny, what's the worst shot you ever took in training or fighting?
Let's see. The worst shot was probably against BJ Penn. Was it round one or early in the fight, where I ate a shot, kind of went down, or actually was like kind of stepping in potholes a little bit after that one. That was probably one of the worst ones. And then one in training, Yves Jabouet. I don't know if you remember Yves.
Yeah.
I was sparring with him, and little guy, I'm like, keeping him on the outside. I'm like, oh, this is easy. And all of a sudden he threw a spinning back fist out of nowhere, and I dropped to a knee, and I was looking in the complete opposite direction from where he was.
Wow.
And Faraz is like, no, you're not supposed to throw spinning back fists in training. What are you doing? But I mean, it's little things like that. Thankfully, not a whole lot that I've been hit with where I was like, wow, that was a huge shot. But not everybody has that level of durability like a Justin Gaethje.
Right.
Crazy.
Ray. Ignacio Bahamondes submits Jalen Turner with a triangle at the 229 mark of round one. Another bonus for Nacho, Team Muhammad, Mike Valley, Valley Flow Striking Academy. These guys are on fire. What'd you make of Nacho over the weekend, Raymond?
Oh, man, what could you make of him? That kid's on fire. Another sweetheart of a kid. Just listening to him talk, he sounds like an innocent kid, but he's going right back to training. But whatever they're doing down there, that kid looked fantastic against a really tough kid in Jalen Turner, who I kind of expected more out of even in the last couple of fights, but who knows what he's got going on in his head. But Ignacio, man, well, that was between him and Rufi, you got 255s that are on fire, man. That Rufi knockout was crazy too. And I mean, what does a fight between those two guys look like?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they have some. It's going to be curious to see how they handle him, but man, they're right up in if those guys aren't in the top 15 at this point.
Well, right. No, I do think it is. You have two guys, and you might as well inject Mauricio Rufi into the equation. My fucking God, Kenny.
Dude. Well, first, I'd love to talk about Bahamondes because you look at him, and if you're at 155 and you're looking at this guy, you're like, well, he's a striker. I gotta take him down or do something. And this guy jumps guard, is doing amazing off his back, winning the fight off his back, largely, and then sets up this triangle from hell. And you're like, oh God, I got to worry about his submissions off of his back too. Like, God, those are the kind of things that you throw in there as a fighter to just throw everybody off and just let you know you are not safe anywhere. So to see that finish against someone like Jalen Turner, who's, I believe, is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a very good overall fighter and talented dude, was really impressive to me. Mauricio Rufi, this guy's different. Some guys are just blessed with talent and skill and athleticism. He is one of those guys. Just his posture and how he carries himself, the confidence that he brings into the octagon, the elegance, the skill, the speed. My gosh, that wheel kick, dude.
No, that was vicious.
Yeah, and he did it against Bobby Green, who's a guy who's pretty slick himself, who can see some things coming. I mean, Bobby Green is known for being evasive. Yeah. Yes, he keeps his hands down, but he's fought a lot of guys. He's got a ton of experience, and Mauricio Rufi just made him look like an amateur. He made him look like an amateur. And at a time where I'm like, 135 pounds, that's the most difficult division. I think they've surpassed 155 at this point. And then I see Bahamondes and Rufi go out there and fight. I'm like, they're back. 155, it's on again. It's just lit. It's insane.
Yeah, really,
It
really
worked out.
crazy. And Kenny, there's guys that could do that on the taekwondo paddles and all of that
Right.
stuff. But to be able to be that composed during a fight against a high caliber guy is a totally different animal. And he just
Yeah.
looked
I
like
have chills right now just
nothing.
thinking about it. You
Yeah,
know, on fight night and hit it like that.
Yeah, nothing's bothering that guy. And like you
Crazy.
get Bobby Green, I think is durable.
Mhm.
Look at his fight with Fiziev. He could have won
Right.
that fight. That
Right.
fight was just back and forth. He took everything Fiziev had to offer. So, throw Fiziev in with one of these guys. How does that look? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there's so many great fights now that could be made. It's really where's Fiziev ranked?
11 going into this fight. But yes, Sean Shelby's licking his chops for all of these guys. And
Oh,
Ignacio
yeah.
Montes got the Jalen Turner fight essentially at the base of the octagon after he beat Manuel Torres at Sphere. There's a lot to talk about with Jalen Turner. I'm trying to figure out a way to navigate these final 2 minutes with Raymond, and I'm probably going to table the Jalen Turner stuff in a little bit, and maybe I shouldn't. But Ray, in Las Vegas, I got all these people coming up to me, and they like when I ask you these would you rather questions.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure they do.
So I'm not sure what I'm
Hit 'em
supposed to
with
do. I mean, there's Jalen Turner stuff, and there's Joshua Van stuff, and there's
Hey,
Carlos
listen.
Leal stuff. But would you rather, Ray, talk about Carlos Leal or selling all of your possessions or like your organs?
Yeah, let's talk about Leal. Although I can guarantee nobody wants my organs at this point.
So, all right, I'm going to talk about Carlos Leal with Ken Flo as you drink your coffee. Ray,
Yeah.
would you rather sell all of your possessions or one of your organs?
I'd sell all of my possessions.
Me too. I got nothing. Ken Flo's got like Rolexes. Would you rather
No,
lose?
I take that back. I might give up a gallbladder. I heard you don't need that.
There you go.
Yeah.
They're
Would
overrated.
you rather lose the ability to lie or believe everything you're told?
What? Lose the ability to lie?
You can't lie. I say my middle child can't fucking lie. She's never told a lie in her life. My eldest daughter has already lied probably thousands of times.
Oh, wow.
She's 13.
Wait, what was the question again? Lose the ability to lie or what?
Or believe everything you're told. Just be gullible, I always get Bruce Buffer on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll take
All right.
believe
You wanna take a
everything.
pass?
Believe everything I'm told. I'll go with that.
All right, last question. I know you got to go. Would you rather be stranded on a desert?
Holy crow, he's still going.
You want to go? You want to just go?
No,
All
gotta
right.
go.
Would
No,
you
go.
rather be stranded on a deserted island for 5 years or in a coma for a decade?
What the hell is the matter with this guy? What is the matter with you? You know what I'd rather do? Than be saying, get the fuck out of here.
Oh, that was a good one, dude. I love it.
Kenny, would you rather be stranded on a deserted island for 5 years or in a coma for a decade? I'll take the island for 5 years. I'm not the most resourceful guy out there, but I'll take my chances. I don't need that medically induced coma for a decade. You?
Me neither. You can put me on an island. I'll make something out of it.
Kenny, would you rather be so afraid of heights that you can't go to the second floor of a building or be so afraid of the sun you can only leave the house on rainy days?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm already afraid of heights, so I'll take the second floor. I'll take the second floor.
This question's interesting. Easiest would you rather for me by far. Would you rather be able to talk your way out of any situation or punch your way out of any situation?
Oh. Rather talk my way out of every situation.
I would rather be able to punch my way out of every situation.
Really?
Any situation. Well, contrary to what you may believe, because I orate for a living, I certainly don't classify myself as someone who can talk myself out of any situation. I don't have that ability, right? I certainly can't punch myself out of any situation. I can't even imagine walking through life at 6'2", never mind being able to fucking punch myself out of any situation. I think about walking through Cincinnati like Matt Brown,
Right.
Huh. Good morning, sir. Oh, you're not going to say it back? You're not going to say it back? Matthew Immortal Brown fucking flatten you on a Tuesday morning. All right, we'll get to Petrie here in about 60 seconds, but Ken Flo, I'm going to throw out a few other names here, UFC 313, and I guess real quickly, Bahamondes was going to call out Renato Moicano. I think he did after the fact. Mauricio Rufy called out Beneil Dariush. Fiziev, right? There's a lot of connective tissue, a lot of things that you could do at 55. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go Bahamondes versus Moicano. Any thoughts as to what you would do from a matchmaking standpoint with Bahamondes and or Mauricio Rufy?
Gosh, I think that's a great fight, and that's a smart call out by both men, actually. Bahamondes, Moicano, I think makes a lot of sense. Two tall, lanky fighters. Moicano, excellent on the ground. That's his specialty. No slouch on the feet either. And Bahamondes, kind of the exact opposite of that, right? So that'd be an awesome fight to make, man. That's the one. And for Rufy, I like that call out against Dariush. Dariush is a ranked guy, got a ton of experience. He's good everywhere. And Rufy wants to make a name for himself. And he's also aware of where he is amongst that pack, not trying to go too fast and not trying to take another guy where he is at, an unranked guy either. He wants a ranked guy, and I think he's ready.
And all I want for Christmas and for Flag Day and anything in between in 2025 is lightweight main events. I'd love to see a lot of these guys get the opportunity to fight in main events. It just doesn't feel as though we have a lot of lightweight UFC Fight Night main events. I could be wrong historically on that. I know for a time we did, but let's get back to that. And let's get back to Brian Petrie and 3 Wide. As we continue our UFC 313 recap, Big Gun Brian Petrie joins us. What's up, kid?
What's up, boys? How you doing?
Better now. Fucking better now.
There we go.
So, Brian, would you rather wear jeans 1 size too small or shoes 2 sizes too big?
Shoes 2 sizes too big. I've already done that. I've already jeans, no way, dude. I'm already too big to be squeezing in jeans. So, shoes all day.
Brian, would you rather detect every lie you hear or get away with every lie you tell?
Detect every lie. I try not to lie. I had a little bit of a lying problem growing up. So now I'm an honest Abe. So yeah, detect every lie for sure.
I wonder if I lied a lot as a kid. Probably. All right, Bri. So Mauricio Rufy with a knockout that elicited a reaction from me in the broadcast booth, unlike really anything prior. I'm not sure I've ever held an O that long. Brett Okamoto sort of said shades of Edson Barboza against Terry Edom, which just was so clean that it's like, how could any kick be even in that conversation? I know greatest knockout in UFC history, given the stakes and the execution, Anderson Silva maybe against Vitor Belfort. But for me, it's always been Edson Barboza against Terry Edom. And I don't know, Bri. I mean, you're a striker. This seemed almost as good, if not just as good on that level.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different just because the setup of what Rufy did was incredible. He was baiting him into that. He knows Bobby dips that way. He faked the left, threw the kick. Edson was just all explosive, and it happened a little bit later in the fight. Right. Probably through, I haven't watched that fight in a while, but I'm sure he attempted it at least once or twice. Rufy knew what he was doing. He came in with that. It was just so picture perfect, beautiful. I watched every time it comes across my page on Twitter. I'm watching it over and over and over again.
It's so fast, dude.
Oh, so
it was so fast and beautiful.
Too. It wasn't foot. Wasn't heel. Strongest bone in your body. Ow.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Yeah. However durable, that is a heel to the side of your skull. Straight fucking heel. And that's well put, Bri, just in terms of when it happened in fight, I think is important in acknowledging all of that. But truly, like top 10, one of the greatest knockouts in UFC history. Unbelievable.
100%.
All right, I'm going to throw out a few other things. Bri, I'll start with you on this. Maiden Santos over Francis Marshall by split decision. And, I do hope, and maybe I should apologize for saying it was a trash decision on the air to Myron or to Eric Nixick or anybody of that team. But, I don't know, man. I don't know how you saw this, Bri. I felt like Francis Marshall did enough to win. And I guess sometimes as a broadcaster and maybe even as a fan, you do get caught watching one guy a little bit. But I just thought Francis Marshall got more done in this fight. One judge had it for him 30-27. The two other judges saw it the other way.
Yeah, I thought it was a clean 29-28, even 30-27 on Francis Marshall's side. It was a competitive fight, but I thought Francis landed the cleaner strikes in the exchanges. I mean, Santos wasn't backing down or anything, but he landed the cleaner strikes and he got taken down and got some position and control time. Even if, he took me down, I got right back up. Great. But even on the feet, Francis was still doing stuff. I thought he looked phenomenal. Physically, he looked fucking huge too. You know, I know he's a Kurt Pellegrino guy up there in Jersey going down American Top Team. He looked fantastic, and I had money on Santos, and I was actually watching with a bunch of people, and I was already saying, "Oh, this is trash." Everyone was riding my bet. I'm like, "It's over. It's over. We lost. We're done. We're cooked. Move on to the next one." And they announced it for Santos. I went, "Oh, it's gonna be that kind of night, I guess." But I thought Marshall won that pretty cleanly, in my opinion. I think it was. I don't say the word robbery a lot, but I might say the word rob, right? I'm not going to go full robbery. I'm not going to go B-E-R-Y. I might just say rob. It's there, though. It was close.
Kenny, did you see that?
I missed
fight?
it. No, I missed it, man. I was with the fam.
So I made sure to not say this on the broadcast, and I like to have fun at Kurt Pellegrino's expense. You know, at Kenny's wedding, there was a circumstance where they needed a replacement groomsman or something, and I think they might have called Pellegrino's number and not mine. But I didn't necessarily have a lot of love for Kurt beforehand. No, I kid. But bro, on Francis Marshall's fucking fighter bio, right? And again, like, he didn't mean anything by this, but he talked about his move to American Top Team. You know, and he's like, you know, for some people an Android's fine. You know, but for most people, you got to upgrade to that iPhone, you know? Yeah. So he essentially compared Kurt Pellegrino to an Android. So from now on, that's your nickname, Curty, fucking Android. Hey, Kurt, you listen to the Anik Florian podcast or no? Kurt Pellegrino, all-time good guy.
Oh, God.
I got a few other things on UFC 313, and then we'll move on. So, Bri, you know chicks or women's MMA or whatever it is. And one of our listeners wanted me to bring this to your attention. This particular listener, I'm not going to say his name. He's completely underwhelmed by the women's game, and he's very frustrated. He feels like on the Anik Florian podcast, we don't necessarily criticize the women's game. And it is so in its relative infancy compared to the men's game that, yes, I mean, historically, there have to have been more decisions, right? You look at some of these women and they have 9, 10, 11 straight. I think about Kadol Hosa and Andrea Lee. Most of their entire UFC bodies of work are all decision fights. And Amanda Lemos over Yasmin Lucindo, I know, underwhelmed a lot of fight fans. So I'm not trying to put you guys on the spot necessarily, but there is a segment of the fan base that is a little bit getting tired of, you know, some of the, I guess, listlessness or lack of action in these women's bouts. And it does dovetail with what I was saying, like, give me some fucking lightweight main events already.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, this fight wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I see the hate. I know I saw that. I believe it was a comment or something. I saw what you were talking about, whoever sent you that. But I still think women can deliver fights. I think the high level women are unreal. I think even on the lower end of the men's spectrum, we're going to get some duds. And you're right. Men's MMA have been around a lot longer than women's MMA, and we're going to pop up and we're going to get some fights that are a little lackluster. And I don't understand the super negativity towards women's MMA, because I still find some really entertaining fights. You tell me Jessica Andrade is go out there have a boring fight? No fucking way, right? Yeah. Sometimes you get a stinker, and I just think some people might be making too big of a deal on this. I will agree that 100%, 155 pounds needs the headline way more. That is for sure, because it's the best division. But yeah, I just think women are getting a hard time right now with the spot. I see a lot of comments about that. There's also a famous, well, I wouldn't say famous, a pretty big handle in MMA. If you've been on Twitter for a while, he used to have a handle called Front Row Brian. It is now something different. He was very negative about women's MMA as well. But I don't see it. I still think they deliver for sure. And I thought I knew chicks. I'm ice cold right now. I don't know chicks anymore. I got a ton of comments to say I don't know chicks anymore. But
Kenny,
yeah, I see it though.
Amanda Lemos had to prioritize winning here, right? And to Brian's point, all these fights can't necessarily deliver. What'd you make of that fight, and what do you make about this thematically? Because it's not just that one tweet. Right. It's a lot of noise.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I'll say I would maybe put the blame and the onus more on Lucindo, who I expected to strike a lot more with Lemos. And I think she found out she was not at that level, maybe didn't have the speed and power of someone like Lemos, and decided to switch things up and said, you know, I've seen Lemos make mistakes on the ground. Let me try to put this where I feel I'm stronger. And she tried to make it a grappling match and kind of failed at that. In that, her approach of being on her back and trying to set up a submission against someone like Lemos, that's not where you do it. You need to put Lemos on her back. And I think that's where she kind of failed. And I think it had the potential to be a good fight. If she decided to stand up with Lemos, I think that it would have been way more exciting. But her getting taken down on some of those failed takedown attempts, I think, is what kind of made it a slow moving fight. And for Lemos, I think she was kind of content to just get that win coming off that loss, and she just wanted another win again. So she wasn't taking unnecessary risk and trying to pass guard and look for submissions. She was just trying to stay on top and chip away with ground and pound.
All right, congrats also to Joshua Van, who takes Ray Cerullazo. Joshua Van's the fucking man. Van
He's
down
good.
by the river. I mean, if he ever knocks somebody clean out, we got to figure out a way to say Van down by the river. Bruno Fajeda by triangle armbar over Armin Petrosian. Carlos Leal, BP, huh? Right? You minus 700 out there, right? You get completely fucking hosed against Rinat Fakhretdinov, and then you go out and take it out on Alex Morono like that. Morono really was on a suicide mission in some respects, Bri. What'd you make of that one?
Yeah, I loved it. I got that by knockout as well, so I was very excited for that. I love the killer instinct. A lot of guys you see, you know, and it's smart. They have different plans, but first off, Leal's back is the size of the cage. I mean, the guy is fit as a fiddle, is what John Gooden says. Listen, he just put it on Morono, who's an experienced guy who knows how to weather storms, and his combination punching, he wasn't just headhunting. Everything he was landing was hurting Morono, and he put him out, and it was beautiful violence, man. I loved it.
So Cody has this thing racked. He loves to no, Cody is my biggest supporter, but yeah, I screwed up on Rafael Fiziev in the pay-per-view open.
Yeah,
Let's bring that to the masses.
I blame me. I blame me for that for the last podcast.
All right, co-main event tonight. Fans win, right? Lightweight rematch. Rafael Fiziev, I should call him, taking on Justin Gaethje. First.
Hey, to the children out there, aspiring broadcasters, you correct yourself and you move on.
You caught it right away, Johnny. That's professional.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Brazilian Portuguese. It's just, it's coming out. So as I understand it, because people had issues on ESPN Plus, that pay-per-view is now free to everybody. Bri, how was your pay-per-view experience?
Yeah, so I went to my buddies and everyone was like, how are you watching this? And I tried to order it for my buddies on my ESPN Plus to see if I was getting any luck. I wasn't. I couldn't order it from my phone. But I went to my buddies and he ordered it like 2 weeks ago to get the $10 off, and we had no problems. It was weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, looks like it's free now if you want to go to ESPN Plus, and hopefully you can take my word for it. All right. Predictions coming up in about 1 minute, but who's scoring big in the NBA this season? You are, with the all-new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, unofficial sports betting partner of the NBA. From Monster Jams to Dish in the Rock to Eating the Glass, get behind your favorite players and all the proposition bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. And here's something special, as always, for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Take it to the rack with DraftKings Sportsbook, where every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right. I don't even know if I can hold it together. So we have several audio files to present to you today for fighters who are competing this weekend. And one of them is a featherweight. Like, I can't even do this. So maybe we should just start with the guy in the co-main event that Brian's prepared to say, because I want to try to hold it together. So, Brian, we got a Brazilian fighter. He competes in the co-main event this weekend. You know, some people call him Easy dos Santos, but we want to hear how you say this Brazilian's name. He's 11-4-1 in the UFC. So at this point, with 16 UFC fights, this should be committed to memory. So who is Chidi Njokuani's opponent this weekend, Brian?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I've been around long enough. I know that Brazilians say Dos Santos a little different. They say like Descent. So I'm gonna say like Elizeu Descent, because I think that's what they say, bro. So they don't say Dos Santos.
I feel like you're fucking with me today. Yeah, I mean, certainly they will say like Dos Santos or whatever. It sounds like with like the CH,
bro.
So, all right, let's rack the file and then we'll get it from Kenny too. Go ahead, Cody.
Elizeu Capoeira dos Santos. Elizeu Capoeira dos Santos. Elizeu Capoeira dos Santos. Elizeu
Santos. You're not Santos, it's Santos.
Oh my God.
Elizeu Capoeira. No. Zaleski dos Santos. So
you don't say Zaleski.
Yeah, no, he doesn't say Zaleski.
No.
But so Capoeira is his nickname. He goes with that.
I love
And
it.
Elizeu, I think, is the toughest part of that, right? Is it?
Yes.
Would you agree with that? Yeah.
That's
Yes.
why I can't even
Elizeu.
pronounce that.
Because we do Americanize Dos Santos.
Sure.
We had an interesting circumstance on the card last weekend, if you care. Jordan Santos, Myron Santos, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the little details. All right.
Yeah.
We also, by the way, have the bass
I just want to hear it.
in the voice. Yeah, you know we
Yeah.
got the Chidi and Jaquani file for you every time he fights. So, Cody, you can fucking hit that.
Chidi and Jokawani. Chidi, bang, bang, and Jokawani.
Golly.
Yeah, I'd like to order in-room dining for one in room 15106, right? Imagine when Chidi calls down. It's like fucking Barry White.
Unreal.
Jeez,
Yeah, that's
Chidi. All
powerful.
right. We're just trying to make some UFC picks, Chidi. Jeez, man. All right, main event challenge, UFC Fight Night, Vettori versus Dolidze II. Bantamweight division, Damon Blackshear, minus 485 and climbing, taking on Cody Gibson, plus 370. Blackshear seems to have regained top form, or at least some of it, Bry. Submitted Cody Stamen with an RNC in round 1 last November. He is 3-3-1 in the UFC, but the losses, Montel Jackson, Mario Bautista after winning a fight the week before, and then Farid Basharat also fought Yusuf Zalal to a draw in his 2022 UFC debut. I don't know how good Blackshear can be, but initially when I sent you guys the odds, he was minus 360. He's minus 485 BP. Now go ahead.
And for good reason. I mean, he might climb to 500. I think he's a lock for this weekend. The number's a little high. I'm not going to run the play of the number. But Cody Gibson, guy gets put on his back. There's really nothing there. He prefers to be on top like he did against Callender or have a scrap like he did against Katona. Damon Blackshear is crafty. Yeah, he got put out by Montel Jackson, but Montel Jackson's got bigger hands than Francis Ngannou, right? That dude's going to hit you. He's going to put you down. But Blackshear is crafty on the ground. He's hit a twister in the UFC. He's got some chokes. He's got some good wrestling, crafty on the feet as well, and cardio for days. And if you look at the Mario Batista fight, he took him down, I think, 3 times, which is not easy to do. The guy's got some chops. So I understand why the line's so high. It's really hard to climb there for me. This is kind of a thinner card when it comes to certain things. So if you're looking for like a maybe 3-leg, 4-leg parlay, if that's the way you want to play it, obviously I think Blackshear, it could be the anchor of that. And get him now because I think he will be climbing. But I'm going to take him Blackshear, but I'm not going to bet him to the window. It's just not enough there for me.
Blackshear's bounced around a little bit. Thailand, reps Killcliff FC. He's done his strength and conditioning down here with JC and Rio Santana at the Institute of Human Performance. Gibson is 37 now. Amazing story, and he is coming off a couple of wins now, last of which came against Chad Anheliger. So he debuted against Aljamain Sterling in 2014 at UFC 170, way back when. He was out of the UFC from 2015 to 2023. He's been pretty damn competitive, Kenny, since returning via the Ultimate Fighter. What are your thoughts on Gibson here, plus 370 and climbing?
I think he's tough. I think he's a good grappler. I think that he may try to, keep this fight on the ground. I don't think he wants to stand up with Blackshear for too long. I think that Blackshear is just going to be way craftier, whereas Gibson's utilizing his striking to get to that clinch and put you on your back. Now, from there, he could give Blackshear a tough time. I just don't see it happening. I don't love the odds here, though. I liked it better maybe last week, but I think Damon Blackshear is the favorite for a reason. I think he's got a ton of potential as well, man. I just don't think he's taken the smart fights early in his career. I hope he does from here on out, because I do think he's a guy who could potentially be an elite bantamweight in the not so distant future. So I like this kid.
All right, lightweight division, Alexander Hernandez, minus 180, Kurt Holloway, plus 150. Holloway, 38, Kurt the Hurt. I didn't know that was his nickname. His bio says Kurt the fucking Hurt. Kurt the Hurt Holloway. 2-5 across several UFC stints, but far more importantly now, Bri, 2-1 during this recent run. Won season 31 of The Ultimate Fighter in 2023. Now he takes on the Great Ape Hernandez, 7-7 in the UFC. Your thoughts on this one at 55 BP?
Yeah, Kurt's got a little Donald Cerrone in him, and I don't mean by style. It just means the way he approaches this. Like, he's a banger. He wants to stand up. It goes to the ground. He'll slap a fucking triangle on you. He's got some submissions off his back. Hernandez in this coming to minus 180 is a little surprising me. I know Kurt's he's 38. He's coming off the Ultimate Fighter, and he's done well in the UFC, but there's some missteps here and there. But Hernandez, this dude, I know he's got a new camp or whatever. I know they've left and they're doing his cardio looked great his last time out, but inconsistency. There's times where I don't think he wants to be there. In his last fight, he looked good up until the third round, where I'm like, does this guy, what's happening? We've seen it before against a guy like Donald Cerrone, where it just didn't look like he wanted to be there. He was yapping his mouth, trying to become a big star, got put back in his place, and now he's trying to find his footing, but the inconsistency scares me. And you're hanging 180 on him? Give me Kurt, baby. I like the dog here. I think if it stands up, because by the way, Alex hasn't attempted a takedown his last 3 fights as well. So if he wants to stand up with Kurt, I like Kurt's chin. I like Kurt's striking ability. I think he's nails in there, and I think he could hurt Alex, who's been hurt and finished before. This should be very interesting. I like Kurt, and I like Kurt by finish. So we're playing it 2 different ways here, babe.
You know what can help Kurt Holloway stand out in a division that is absolutely ruthless? A nickname like Kurt the Hurt.
Yeah.
Give him something to work with, Kurt the Hurt. So Alexander Hernandez, yes, exceedingly uneven, Kenny, of UFC career. I mean, it is crazy to think about the resounding UFC debut against Beneil Dariush, followed up by a win over Olivier Aubin-Mercier at 55.
Wow.
Crazy, right? Like,
yeah.
Legitimate, perennial top 10 lightweights in OAM and Dariush. Your thoughts on Hernandez here trying to get over the 500 mark in the UFC?
Yeah, Hernandez is a tough one to figure out. I think Holloway is more consistent with what Holloway is going to show up. Hernandez, you're not quite sure, even within the fight itself. Like, as Brian talked about, he can go from looking really good to really bad very quickly. And that's what's kind of confusing. And it seems like to me that Hernandez he tends to or wants to take the hard path to victory sometimes. And you're like, why are you doing this, man? Just open the door. You don't have to run yourself through a wall here. And he could find himself in trouble in this fight here against Holloway. I do think he's the better overall fighter, though. Holloway probably more technical on the ground. I just see him having a tough time taking down Hernandez unless Hernandez, just kind of gasses out, which is possible.
Yeah.
So while I wouldn't touch this fight from a betting perspective myself, I do like Hernandez here, and I think it will be exciting while it lasts.
All right, next up, featured bout at featherweight. We have an audio file here for a 23-year-old fighter out of Mar del Plata, Buenos Aires, Argentina. His nickname is El Chino. I don't think either of you men. Kenny is a linguist, right? So I honestly think if I could put anybody out there to try to pronounce this correctly on my behalf for money, I would send Kenny out there. But I'm telling you, I don't think you guys are going to be able to mimic this. I was crying with laughter listening to this file earlier today. His first name's Kevin.
Yeah.
Let us hear the file of El Chino. Listen closely.
Kevin Vallejos. Kevin Vallejos.
So the Argentinian accent, they do this in Colombia as well. So instead of Vallejos, they'll say Vallejos, je. Instead of ye, they'll say je. So that's more the Argentinian accent that they use. But Kevin Vallejos.
You see, though, how he did the B instead of the V, just like Kevin.
Yeah.
Kenny, do that again, please.
Kevin Vallejos.
Absolutely murdered it. Bri,
we're
going to play the file for you once more, and then we're going to hear what you have to take the marble out, and then we'll go ahead, Cody, hit that again for me, please.
That's good.
Kevin Vallejos. Kevin Vallejos.
Kevin Vallejos. Kevin Vallejos.
Cody, record that, clip it, have
That's
it ready.
I'm really curious what the phonetics will be, for Vallejos, or if they do the V or the B. It's going to be interesting to see what we hear on broadcast this weekend. As far as the fight is concerned, Vallejos is minus 410 against Sung Woo Choi, who comes back plus 320. So, El Chino, I mean, he's got to be El Chino, man.
Gotta go El Chino.
El Chino stopped Cameron Teague on the Contender Series last September. Maybe I should have looked up or listened to the file as to what they said on the fight. He competed and lost the previous season, wins on season 8. 4-1 favorite here for the UFC debut, Bri. What did they call him on the film that you ate before the show? I mean,
because the one loss of the Contender Series that you buried the lead was against João Silva, and he didn't get finished by João Silva. He went after João Silva, 21, 22 years old. I believe they went Valleos. I believe so. I get, sometimes I'm multitasking when I'm watching, but this dude, El Chino, this dude's the real deal. I mean, he's your typical Argentine fighter where he's got an iron fucking skull and he will crack you, right? And Choi has been finished in the first round as 2 out of his last 3 fights. This guy's kill or be killed. I think the chin's running out on him. I like Bahaus. I lost it already. Give me Kevin El Chino. I can't play the number at -410. I'm going to go by knockout round 1 as well. Listen, I need some dubs. I'm losing, so I can't put all my eggs in a basket of a 23-year-old. Until you can run a car, I'm not putting a G on you, but I do like him in this spot. I like him by knockout as well. That's going to be a play for me.
Michael Lappy LaPlante, our producer, if you're listening, what are you guys doing with Bachejos this weekend? On the other side, Ken Flo, Sungwoo Choi, 4-6 in the UFC, trains under the Korean zombie Chan Sung Jung. No shame in getting knocked out by the mean machine, Steve Garcia. That was his fate last July. He's plus 320 this weekend against El Chino, Flo.
Well, they can always go with Vallejos. I think that would be correct if they like. So, all right. Well, first of all, this guy Vallejos is a guy that went 3 rounds with Jean Silva. That is really impressive. He lost the unanimous decision, but this is a guy with very, very good boxing. He knows how to slip and rip. He's got really good head movement, attacks the body really well, and he's got some serious power, and he throws punches in bunches. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to get on the inside of Sungwoo Choi. Sungwoo Choi, thank you. So Sungwoo Choi. And that's where he can win this fight. I think that for Choi, I think he may want to take this fight to the ground, try to test the ground game of Vallejos, but we'll see, man. I like Vallejos pretty big here.
All right, welterweight co-main event. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos -180. Chidi Njokuani is +150. Njokuani turned 36 on New Year's Eve. He's 4-3 in the UFC. He has won a couple in a row, 2 straight decisions over guys who I guess may or may not still be on the roster. Here draws a tried and tested warrior, the 16-time UFC veteran, Easy dos Santos. BP, take it away.
Yeah, Chitty, since going down to 170, he's been impressive. I was really nervous about him cutting that weight. I know he's a slim guy for 185, but he's still pretty tall and had some good upper body, but he's looking great at 170. He hasn't slowed down, and he hasn't fought high-level competition, but he's looked pretty good doing so. And his striking and his clinch work and everything is still elite. And then you got Descents. That's how they say it there, John, Descents. When you got this guy, Capoeira, the spinning dance fighting, this is how we put out Sean Strickland. This guy's got some bodies on his record, but he is 38. He's getting a little bit older. And I just don't really like when I look back at a similar body style, like when he fought Randy Brown. Remember, Randy Brown and Chidi are kind of similar body types, and he just went for takedowns after takedowns. Lost that fight, had no volume in his punches, hasn't really landed a lot of striking as of late. He's explosive. If I don't get my explosive stuff off, I'm going back to maybe some grappling. I'm trying to play it safe, and I really think if they go to the clinch here, I think Chitty Bang Bang could bang a knockout here inside the clinch. I think he's nasty with those knees. Over the top elbows is fucking nasty. I mean, that's what he hit RoboCop with. Split RoboCop right down the middle there. And you're giving me plus money, so give me Bang Bang here. I like the plus money a lot, and that is maybe something I'm going to play a little bit. Won't play some bets, boys.
All right, so we'll see. The Brazilian fighter Ken Flo dos Santos coming off a much-needed win over Zach Scroggin by stoppage last November. He has never lost 2 in a row in the UFC. We all remember him bludgeoning Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC 267 back in the day. No bonuses for Easy dos Santos dating to 2017. Your thoughts on him in the co-main event this weekend against Chitty Bang Bang?
This should be a fun one. I think Njokuani has shown huge improvements with his ability to stop takedowns, and I think that's what this fight comes down to. I think that the height advantage is significant for Njokuani, and he tends to exploit that very well with long-range strikes. And, Dos Santos is no slouch in the striking department either. I just think with him, not having that reach and height, that's going to be a problem for him. I think he still has some decent speed. I think this fight will come down to the clinch, or more specifically, the takedown game of Dos Santos. I think that's where he needs to take this fight. That's where he wins this fight. I just don't think Njokuani is going to have it. I think he's going to be able to stop the takedowns, be effective in the clinch, as Brian was talking about, but within a striking manner, not with the grappling manner. Knees, elbows, short strikes on the inside is where he can kind of separate and hurt Dos Santos. Dos Santos' game, I think he'll stick around for a little bit. Won't be easy to get him out of there, but I do like Njokuani here as well.
All right, middleweight main event, Marvin Vettori -148. Roman Dolidze is +124. First meeting between the two, UFC 286, March 18th of 2023. Vettori won that one by unanimous decision. Dolidze then will go on to lose to Nassourdini Mavov before beating Anthony Smith and Kevin Holland back-to-back. Dolidze 8-3 in the UFC, taking on the former world title challenger Marvin Vettori, who is 5 years Dolidze's junior, 31 years of age, but hasn't fought since a 5-round main event loss to Jared Cannonier. That was June of 2023. As you know, Bry, Vettori withdrew from a main event against Brendan Allen April of last year, undisclosed reasons. I liked the first fight. Both men had their moments. Act 2 this weekend. BP, kick us off on the main event.
Yeah, I just rewatched the first fight again, and it was one of those fights that kind of slipped through my memory. I was like, how did that fight go again, right? And it was surprising that Vettori got credit for over 101 strikes. I knew he landed more because he's more of a volume guy. I just feel like the elites landed better, right? And a lot of the strikes Vettori landed was the legs and stuff. And obviously those matter, but I just thought the elites had a little bit better of a game plan. I'm not saying it's a rob or anything, but I think now that they're not training together, because there was that situation where they were training together a little bit in Vegas. Vettori, he was kind of a gym hopper. He's out in Florida now. He's in Southern California, Vegas. Now he's out in Florida. So there's going to be a little bit familiarity, but also a little bit like Dolidze is still going to be jumping. And I heard he's a beast in the gym. And I think Vettori's going to be in great shape. And this is a really active guy who hasn't been super active. Surprised he's only 31. He's got an iron fucking chin. You can't hurt this guy, but he doesn't really have any power. And I really like to see Dolidze, who didn't go for any, or he went for one takedown in the first fight, but didn't get it. Maybe mixing some takedowns, because I think Vettori off his back is nothing, right? And Dolidze likes to fancy himself as a leg lock guy, a guy who can get you down, beat him up. He's physical. I think he looked better sometimes at 205. I mean, the Anthony Smith at 205 looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
So cut back down here 185 is interesting to me. I like the dog here. I think I'm going to take the dog. I like the over. I'm sure they're going to set it at 3.5. I don't think either guy can finish either guy. I think we're looking at a real nail-biter decision. I might even play like when someone's going to go win by split decision or something like that, which you get a nice little juicy number on DraftKings. But I think Dolidze is going to get it done here. I think he's just a little more improved more from the first fight, which is close. And I think Marvin Vettori has kind of shown what he is already. I think Dolidze is still improving, even at 38. Or 36, excuse me. So give me Roman Dolidze.
Yeah, I'm curious what we get out of Marvin Vettori this weekend, Kenny. He's -148. Come back on Roman Dolidze right now, +124 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Who wins the headlining act? Ken Flo.
It's tricky, right? Because Vettori we haven't seen since 23, and so it's been a couple years, or at least a year and a half, and I think that their first fight, again, it being 3 rounds, I think that Dolidze has the advantage, because I actually thought Dolidze won that fight. And just like Brian, I saw it the same way. That bet actually screwed me, because I had Dolidze pretty big in that one. But I think Vettori is a guy that probably isn't going to run out of gas, and Dolidze can run out of gas, especially given the fact that he looked huge at 205, guys. And at 185, I'm not sure he's going to be able to have that same level of conditioning. Now, Dolidze could win this fight maybe early. I think he's the better submission artist here, but I think he's going to have a tough time taking Vettori down. And I think that he may fade if this fight is just them kind of trading on the feet. I think that Dolidze may fade a little bit late. However, I also agree with the good analysis of Brian Petrie that if I were to take both guys and imagine who would be better since the last time they fought, it would probably be Dolidze. Now, that might be just because we've seen Dolidze more since that fight. Maybe that long layoff is going to be good for Vettori. I think it might I'm going to lean towards Vettori here. It's an interesting one. The fact that it's a 5-rounder is why I'm picking Vettori. If it was a 3-rounder, probably Dolidze.
All right, we'll see how it plays out this weekend. Back to the Apex for the Combat Sports Leader. All right, place your bets time. It is presented by JohnAnik.com, where you can support the show with our exclusive Anik and Florian podcast and One More Sleep apparel. Use code One More Sleep for discount. Also, Ray Longo Minute merchandise up there as well. All right, $1,000 for each of you boys to spend. Brian Petrie, take it away, my good friend. Where's the 1K being spread or not spread this weekend?
So I'm hurting, right? I'm hurting, right? So I need something. And I was going to put 1,000, 1K, keep it simple on Vettori Dolidze over 3.5, because I think that's a lock. You're going to get a minus 340, minus 420. You're not going to get a kickback. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck that, right? Balls on the table. Time to play some dogs. Give me 500 on Roman Dolidze.
Okay.
500 at the plus money.
Yep.
Give me 300 on Kurt the Hurt, baby. Let's go. And then give me another 200 on Chitty Bang Bang. All dogs. Ooh. Hopefully they're barking, baby. I need it. Need to battle back here.
Nicely done. Ken Flo, it's been an outstanding year, and it's crazy to think if some of these close fights had gone your way, it would be even more outstanding. What do you have for us on UFC Fight Night, Vettori v. Dolidze II?
I'm going to keep it simple here, but Brian has me a little worried with his main event fight. May have good reason there. So I'm going to go with $800 on Bajejos. Bajejos, 800. I'm a goon. And then we're going to go $200 on Vettori. I'll see how they weigh in, see how they look. Maybe I'll switch it up, guys. Shoot you texts. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we will update the standings next week. If you want more from Brian Petrie, his MMA Takes podcast live every week. Any parting shot? Or are you good to go, my man?
Yeah. One thing, Kenny, your seminars this weekend at Ray Longo's, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, bro. Have a good time. I wish I was anywhere near Long Island so I could enjoy that. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Thanks,
Best
bro.
mind in MMA right here. And I'm sure the seminar is going to be unreal. Have a great time, boys.
Thank you, brother.
Great kicker from Brian Petrie there, because had he not mentioned that, we might not have promoted that. So, Kenny, that is this weekend at Longo's. I mean, heaven forbid that fucking Ray or even my guy Steve Lee might have sent me a message for a little friendly reminder, but Ray ain't going to promote the fact that you're going to see him in 5 days. So you're going up there this weekend, huh?
Leaving Saturday. So it'll be on Saturday. I head up early Saturday morning, and I'm excited to see Ray in the flesh as always, and excited to deliver a little seminar with him.
If people are not yet a part of this seminar, can they still be a part of it or no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hit up Steve Lee. Go to Ray Long. Was it RayLongoMMA.com? Something like that.
Yeah. Try that out, or Longo's MMA on Instagram. I'm sure you can figure it out. Do you have any clue as to what time you're going to be there?
I do.
I do.
Let's see. I know. Here we go. Let's see. Not prepared here.
Those expecting to see. Yeah, we'll show you some Carlos Prates footage smoking a cigarette while we start.
So it's going to be 1 to 2:30.
Will
be some no-gi jiu-jitsu, and then 2:30 to 3:30 we'll be doing some defensive tactics and stuff like that. So
then a live Anik and Florian podcast from 3:30 to 5 with the No, that's actually not happening. Are you flying home that day, or are you staying the night?
I'll be leaving Sunday morning, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, that's an upset, actually. So are you having dinner with Ray or someone else?
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if I'm important enough. We'll see what happens.
So Kenny probably has somebody in New York that he has to have dinner with that isn't Ray.
No.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. So Ray, if you listen to the show back, Kenny wants to have dinner with you on Saturday night. We'll see if you can make it. All right. Thanks to our fine producer, Cody Merrill. Thanks to Longo and Petrie and Ken Flo and everybody else. And thanks to all of you for the kind words about the show on the ground in Vegas. Super fun. And that's why we went back to the Would You Rather this week. We will be back next Monday to recap this show and get you ready. It's 5 live events for the UFC this month. I forgot to ask Ray about the GFL. So we're actually giving Ray a pay cut because I hear he's making so much money with the GFL. Maybe my sources aren't great. So Ray, if you are listening to the entirety of the show, we could talk about the pay cut over text or voice to text later. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, for watching. Tell your friends. If you want to download the new John Anik app, it is free to download. We've got some exclusive behind-the-scenes content over there. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. KennyFlorian.com is live. Go to the seminar this weekend at Longo's MMA, and we'll talk to you all about it next Monday. Until then, thanks for watching and listening. Go later.
Because if I hurt him, I wasn't taking his neck.
What were you going to take?
His soul.
That was
I love this shit.